Hey, welcome back to the Soccer Fitness Podcast. This is episode 2. In today's episode, we're going to speak more about the mental performance side. So we're going to touch on confidence, where it really comes from in football, how you can become more confident, and some of the common mistakes that I've seen as well, and how to just improve those and optimize things so you can feel more confident on the football pitch. Maybe you're a parent and you're watching this for some guidance for your son or your daughter, or maybe you're the player. I'm going to give you some practical things and different ways of seeing confidence, which hopefully you find easy to digest, understand, and then apply in your next team training session, your next match, or in your next week of training. Okay, so I just want to start this off. I'm not a qualified sports psychologist. I have covered sports psychology in some of my various qualifications, including my degree and the master's course that I did in football strength conditioning and other strength conditioning courses that I've done, and personal training ones as well. But I'm not a qualified sports psychologist, so I'm not here to diagnose any issues. I'm just giving my advice from what I've seen help myself as a player and also other players as well with the mental performance side, some strategies and different ways of thinking about things which can really help. So I've made a few notes. If you see me glancing to the side, if you're watching on video, just going to go through those to give you some guidance so I don't go off on tangents waffling. So the first thing just to cover is we've got to think about what exactly is confidence. If we could describe it in, say, a sentence. So confidence is, in my opinion, it's your brain's prediction of how well you're going to perform in a match or at a certain task that you're going to do in the future. Okay, so it's your brain's prediction. And what is that prediction based off of? It's based off of your past experiences and also your preparation as well. So the way to feel more confident would be to have more past experiences in the thing that you're about to do, and also be more prepared. So you put more preparation into the thing that you're about to do as well. So let's say, for example, really simple example, penalty kicks. If you practice penalty kicks every single week, you know exactly where you're going to go, you know what your first option or second option might be, and you practice that all the time in terms of the connection you make with the ball, your whole preparation, you're going to feel more prepared to then, in a match, take a penalty in a real match situation, compared to if you never did that preparation at all in terms of what you do as you're approaching the ball, how you place the ball, where you're going to strike the ball, the direction you're going to go. Of course, you can't completely control that situation. There's factors that you can't mirror through training. For example, what if you've got a crowd of 80,000 people there? It's hard to mimic that in training, but the things that you can control, you can obviously mimic those in your training and try and perfect those areas. So just focusing on the things you can control, and we'll cover that in a little bit more detail in a few minutes. So that is essentially what I believe confidence is. It's your brain's prediction of how well you're going to perform in a certain task which is going to come up, and it's based on your past experiences and the amount of preparation that you've put in as well. Okay, so obviously to feel more confident then, you have to collect more past experiences and also have put more preparation in. That's going to help you feel more confident. I'll give you the best chance of feeling high in confidence in a certain situation. A good analogy to use with this is thinking about a bank account. So with a bank account, you can't withdraw money if you've never put any in. And it's a similar thing with confidence. So we're thinking about our confidence bank account. So how much preparation, how many past experiences have we deposited into our confidence bank account? The more past experiences we have, the more preparation we have in that bank account, the more that we can withdraw from that bank account. Okay, so hopefully that's a good analogy which kind of makes sense and is really easy to understand in terms of putting the work in to feel more confident, not just hoping confidence comes about from things that are outside of your control. So confidence is built from evidence. It's built on your preparation. It's also built on the progress that you make. So if from your past experiences and your preparation, you've then been able to progress in certain areas, whether that's through your fitness training or you just notice your performance in certain situations is more consistent, has improved, then that's going to increase your confidence as well. So it's based on progress, and it's not something, obviously with all that said, that someone can just hand to you. So if a player hasn't put in the preparation, they don't have the evidence from their past experiences, they're not seeing progress because they're not putting the work in day to day, it's very hard for a coach or a parent to just say something to a player to help them feel more confident, because it's something that needs to be earned. It can't just be handed over. Okay, so maybe if you're a player who finds that your confidence goes up and down week to week and you find it hard to maintain confidence levels, it's because you're not so focused on the things that you can control, like your preparation, and you're more hoping for things to fall into place, like playing against a certain opponent, the weather being a certain way, or someone, a coach making a comment to you. Those things can give you a little bit of a boost in confidence, but it's not going to sustain confidence over time. So that's why feeling confident, you can't base that on things like scoring goals, being picked by a coach and being praised by your coach as well. So scoring goals, of course, will give you a bit of a lift in confidence, but then if you have matches where you're just coming up against someone really hard, or your team struggled to get you the ball and you don't score any goals, if that is what you're focused on, how many goals you score, this is an example for a striker, then it's going to mean that there's a chance that your confidence is going to keep wavering dependent on how often you score. So you don't want to focus on that outcome in terms of the goal scoring. You want to focus on what you're doing before the goal scoring. So Michael Owen used to, in an interview I heard him, gave a really good piece of advice and analogy around this. He was never worried if he wasn't scoring goals, because he was focused on getting into the right areas and right situations where he would get chances to score goals. Okay, so he would only be worried if he was finding himself that he wasn't getting those opportunities. If the opportunities are coming, he knows he's doing the right work, and eventually, law of averages, and if he works on his finishing as well, and he stays cool in that situation, then he's going to have a higher chance of scoring. But he's not basing his confidence levels on how many goals he was scoring, if that makes sense. And the same with being picked. If you're selected by a coach, it can give you a boost in confidence, but if you don't get selected, you still want to be a confident player. So for example, I always use Zlatan as an example of a confident player. If Zlatan didn't get selected, or he got left on the bench, he doesn't all of a sudden not believe in himself. He's still a very confident person, and when he comes onto the pitch, he plays to the level he knows he's capable of. It's not like he doesn't get selected and then his form completely drops. So basing it around that as well. And also praise from coaches. It's nice, of course, but you want to be a player who is able to not base your confidence levels on external things like comments that you get from coaches and parents. Again, if you want to build real sustainable confidence, it's about the evidence that your brain has got of the preparation you've put in and the progress that you can see and feel your body making over time from that work that you're putting in over time. Okay. So if you find that your confidence is dropping from one game to the next, it's evidence probably that it's not built on a solid enough foundation. You're waiting for those external things like scoring a goal to suddenly feel more confident, or the right weather situation, or a coach or a parent or another teammate to make a comment to you. Okay, so you want to build it on a more solid foundation of the work you're putting in behind the scenes, not random training, making sure that you're doing the preparation through smart training. And then if you're doing everything you can in terms of what you can control, then that's evidence that your brain can use to feel more confident going into the next situation. So the interesting thing is, even though that is the case, professional players can obviously still lose confidence. There are those times where you might have a run. Again, it's easy to use a striker as an example. A striker might have a run of games where they're not scoring. Okay, but the difference is how they react and can bounce back. So commonly what you'll see is if a striker is gone for a bit of a dry spell in terms of scoring, they're working extra hard on the training pitch. They're working extra hard on their mental game as well outside of matches, because they know that's the process they need to focus on. They'll then find themselves becoming, if they're working on their fitness, they're feeling fitter. They're working on the strength, they're feeling stronger. Then they can increase their chance of performance when they're out on the pitch, increase the number of opportunities that might open up and come their way, and that will lead to more goal scoring opportunities. So even if they're having a bad spell, they know the process they need to follow to maintain that level of confidence. So, they can come back and eventually they'll just get back into the groove of things. Or if they have a period outside of the team, it doesn't mean that their performance completely falls apart and they can't cope. They're still very strong mentally, feeling very confident about themselves. It's just about trusting the process and waiting for that performance to come back up again. So I'm just going to give you a quick run through of 5 things which I think can really summarize and help a player to feel and become more confident in all areas of football. If you find that you're just looking for some extra guidance with this, or you're really struggling, you can implement this framework, and I think it should help really well. Something easy you can implement, and you can see quick progress of this as well. So the first thing, like we've covered, is preparation. So preparation is the key. It helps your brain with that prediction of how well it thinks it's going to perform. Another really simple example outside of football, going into an exam. Are you going to feel more confident if you've done loads and loads of revision on exactly that test you're going to do? Are you going to feel more confident going into the exam in that situation, or just hoping the right questions come up that you just happen to be able to answer? So another good sort of easy example to understand there. So with preparation, making sure that your training is not random training. You're training in a smart way where you can see everything that you're doing is improving you by a little percentage every day, and is specific to football, and you're going to be able to see the transfer and the effectiveness of that training in something that can happen on the pitch. So preparation is the first one. The second one is having small wins. So by small wins, I mean looking for daily wins, every day. So daily wins. So not again focusing on match results. So that might be one way that a player might judge how well they're doing, or a team might judge how well they're doing. But outside of that, looking for the things in the process which are small wins. So it might be today I did a lower body strength session, and I also did some extra mobility and flexibility work. So that might be a small win for that day, and I would just get actually a notepad or a notebook, and just every single morning write down the things that you've done the day before, or at the end of every day, write down the little things that you've taken action on, which are helping you get in those small percentage improvements, so you're becoming a better player every single day. So even if that's something like you've done 10 minutes of visualization, then write that down. That's a small win, which should then go into your confidence bank account that you can then withdraw and help you in your next performance. So yeah, make sure you definitely write down the things that you notice. Don't just have these thoughts and reflections swirling around in your head. Try and write them down so you can visually see, oh, okay, yeah, I've done these things today, and I'm earning the right to feel confident in these areas next time I go out into the pitch. So small wins is the next one. The third one is reflection, which is kind of tied to the small wins. So also advise that players write down what has gone well after a match. So every time, you can also do it after training as well. So every time you perform on the pitch, reflect on that, analyze the things which went well, and then also give yourself 2 or 3 things which you think could have been better or need to be worked on. And then those are your things that you're going to deposit in your confidence bank account for the next week. So you might have those 3 things that didn't go so well. You're going to highlight those, and then in the next week, those are the things you're going to focus on in your training. So then in your next performance, you've got that little bit of extra confidence because you've prepared better in those areas. So you're just gradually stacking these small wins week on week in terms of the work that you're doing, and reflecting every time after a performance, so that you've always got things to be working on, always got ways to becoming like 1, 2, 3% better, or even higher percentages of that, but always looking for those small wins which can make a real difference in those tight situations. Because football, often the success is down to very, very small margins, those slight edges in certain situations which can be just split seconds. So all these little details really count if you're a player who's trying to play at the highest level possible for your age group, or a pro level club. Okay, the next one, which I covered just sort of briefly, is body language. And I always give the example, again, I use Zlatan, even though he's retired now. Zlatan's always someone who's a really good example of confident body language. So if you walk onto the pitch with like your shoulders rounded, your head down, and not smiling, not really looking anyone in the eye, other players, opponents, other coaches are going to get the impression that you are not feeling confident. It might lead to them not passing you the ball, not being selected, so things like that, without you actually before you've even touched the ball. So body language is also something which can really help you. Shoulders back, chest out, eye contact, looking, that like you're enjoying yourself. Doesn't mean you need to be having a laugh the whole time, but if you look a bit more like you're enjoying yourself, you're going to appear more relaxed. That's going to help you play better. Ronaldinho is always a good example of that. You would see him, obviously he's playing really seriously, but he would have a little chuckle and a smile from time to time, which helps him relax, and it just shows other coaches that he's enjoying himself. He's comfortable in that situation as well, and he can handle the pressure of that situation. So body language is the next one. And then finally, it's focusing on the controllable things. So we've touched on this briefly before. So if I'm trying to focus on how many goals I score, and I'm determining my success rate on that, and I'm letting that control my mood, what happens if I go a few games without scoring any goals? That's really going to affect my confidence. Better to focus on the things that I can control. Getting into situations where I'm standing in between opponents, in between the lines, in positions where players can pass to me so I can receive the ball. If I get into those positions, and what else I can control is checking my surroundings, so always scanning. Can I get on the half turn when I receive the ball to then move forward with it? Do I know what my next pass or action is going to be before I receive the ball? All of those things I can control. The ultimate outcome of that, you can't control. So it makes sense just to focus on the things which are totally within your control, and that includes your preparation going into a match. How early you get to a game before kickoff, so not having to rush to get there, risking getting stuck in traffic, things like that. Cleaning your boots is an obvious one, so that'll help with the preparation. Have you done any visualization? Have you written down what your personal goals are for that training session or your match? Those are just some examples, but these are good things which are all within your control and can help lift your level of confidence, and again, depositing things into that confidence bank account. Okay, so hopefully that gave you a few good tips there, which are quite easy to implement. So just a final message, I guess, for parents is, when it comes to helping, say, your child feeling more confident, try and focus more, instead of because a player can have actually not a great performance, but the outcome might still be positive, as in, again, a striker is an easy example to use. Might actually not have a very good game, but just happen to find the ball drop into them and score a couple of goals. So we might think, okay, they've played well, but actually they haven't played well. So try and focus more on praising the effort that they put in day to day into their training and preparation, and praising the progress that they get from that. So if they see that, from retesting, if they're doing strength and conditioning stuff with my program, if they're retesting and they're seeing that progress in terms of their score results, praising that, because that result has come about from the work and preparation that they've put in to achieve that. So praising the process, so that they keep going with that will increase their confidence levels, because it's going to increase their performance levels ultimately on the pitch. So focusing more on the process with your praise rather than the outcome is just a tip which you might find quite helpful, and find that helps your child's confidence levels be more consistent. Okay, and just remember, as one other final message as well, that if you keep showing up and putting in the work, then confidence is eventually going to find you. So it's not going to be that you're going to feel confident and then you start putting in the work just because you feel more confident and you suddenly got this burst of energy. It works much better if you're putting in the work, no matter what's happening on the pitch, what your outcome success level is in terms of how many goals you're scoring, how often you're being selected, what level of team you're playing at. Try not to focus too much on those things. Focus more on the process you're doing behind the scenes, day to day, those daily small wins, following a planned process, which isn't sort of random training. You're training to the best of your ability. You're making sure you're getting your nutrition right, and you're doing that mental performance work, week to week as well. These are all things, I know it probably might sound quite serious and quite involved, but if we work with players on the Elite Football Athlete program who are either at a pro club level, or they're trying to get into that level, or they're trying to get selected for their national team. And those players, even though they are youth footballers, they are paying attention to these little details, and that is some of the things which are helping them, even though they're technically good players, helping them stand out against other technically good players as well. So it's small details like this, which don't take long to do, which can have a big impact if you're willing to pay just attention to those small details, and you are someone who's trying to play at the highest level possible for you. So confidence will find you if you put the preparation in and you put the work in. That's going to help your brain. It's going to help with that prediction of how well do I think I'm going to play in this situation, and you're going to deposit more work, more experiences, more preparations, that confidence bank account. Okay, so if you've got any questions or comments around any of this, anything that you think that I've missed out, which is a good thing, which works for you, please comment below. I'll read every comment. That'd be really interesting to check those out. If you would like more help with the strength and conditioning side, I mentioned a couple of times, that's something which we help with, the Elite Football Athlete program. So I've added a link below this video with some more details about that. As part of that program, we cover some of the mental performance side, a bit like we've done in this podcast episode here, but an actual structure from a course that is included in that program, which we work through with players. So we have monthly calls where we work through that. Also with the strength and conditioning side, understand it, and then apply it. So that is available. Again, I've added a link below this video. There's a digital version available, which works on Kindles as well. There's also the physical copy. There's a hardback and a paperback available on Amazon. So that's a good next step in terms of understanding the strategy and the framework which a player needs to follow in terms of the strength conditioning side. And then if you want more tailored, bespoke help, then we cover that in the Elite Football Athlete program. We also cover the nutrition side and also the mental performance side with that program as well. So I hope you enjoy this episode, and I'll catch you in the next one.